Hey folks, Studio here, and I just want to give you guys one quick conversation about beards. So you may have noticed I have a bit of hair growing out. Not the goatee, this isn't the goatee. This is just, my normal beard growing out. I haven't been maintaining it recently because I'm actually awful at shaving. I am one of the worst people about shaving. I think I just don't like putting a blade to my face. I am not that manly. But because I have not really been maintaining this, because this is kind of going, crazy, I look really dirty. And I just want to say, if you want to grow a beard in the future, make sure that you maintain what you're going for. If it's just a beard, you trim it as necessary. If you're going for a goatee, you really got to keep this clean, because if not, you get stopped by police while walking from the grocery store. Anyhow, let's go ahead and jump into today's replay. We're going to be looking at Malphite. Now, Malphite, he's a top laner. He's got a very special quality about him, and I've mentioned this before in streams. He doesn't really need items. So, for top laners, like let's say Jax needs items. Jax needs to get farm. He'll eventually murder people, but he has to reach that point first. And this kind of goes for most tops. Olaf, Jarvan, these are characters that all need something to really get their base functionality down because they need to do damage. What does Malphite do? Malphite presses R. Malphite goes ahead and presses E, uses ground slam, and well, frankly, that's all he really needs just to have a basic, strong start. So we're going to go ahead, jump into this replay now. Now, this is a game between Team Acer and Luna Gaming. Luna Gaming, I believe I actually already done a daily on them. Team Acer, they're actually a newer team. They're pretty cool. I like them. Dota Pro is a former Dota player. I enjoy the name because it's funny and mean. Now, we're going to be following Malphite. We'll go ahead, go to Luna Vision, because when you're playing this game, you do not have the vision of the enemy. That's why I like to do this. If I need to go ahead and cover something, I always have that rewind button. And Sheep, what does he start with? He starts with boots, 3 potions. What about his armor and magic resist? Clearly he has MR runes because he has 45 magic resist. Clearly he has armor runes because he has 53 armor. Also, he has a really high move speed. There is a Janna on his team. He also has defensive masteries. Now, this is a very unique situation for a level 1 fight. We have a Blitzcrank, so it's important to maintain where that Blitzcrank is. So we actually had Luna Gaming see Blitzcrank go into this bush. They know he's there. They know that he could be warding here. And you just want to avoid those hooks because it's actually hard to get a kill with Blitzcrank early because of flash, but you know what? You could end up having a flash blown. Now, Luna Gaming, they do make a bit of a mistake. They see that Blitzcrank is here. He did disappear through these bushes. Where is he now? In this bush. And this is possibly the funniest level 1 fight. So it's just everybody kind of going at each other, far staying in a bit too long, ends up getting hit by Ignite, and finished by Void Sphere, and then Erotic tower dives. So the problems there, well, they did not actually keep track of Blitzcrank. If you want to engage with Blitzcrank, you have to do it as 5 pretty much, and walking through that bush where the enemy team could see you. Bad idea there, Frogger. But the level 1 fight was a 1-for-1 exchange. A kill on Karthus versus a kill on Kassadin. That's actually pretty equal. The nice thing actually is Kassadin getting farm, which I'd say is harder, so maybe it's more in favor of Kassadin. But, I mean, overall, flashes were blown by Jax and Udyr, so I don't know. It was pretty equal. Udyr's going to have a worse time juggling, but that's beside the point. Top lane. So what does this mean for Sheep in the top lane? Well, he got an assist, so he has an extra potion and ward. While Acer 760, he's still on 3 potions, no ward. This means Malphite's going to be tricky to gank. Once he places that ward, Nocturne's going to have to maneuver to avoid it. Nocturne also doesn't have his exhaust now. This is not an easy gank for Nocturne. Now Malphite, in this top lane, what do you want to do? Do you play aggressively? Do you sit back and farm? You do what the enemy lets you do. So because you don't need farm, you don't really need to be CSing as, let's say, necessarily hard as someone like Jax. So Jax, he's at farm. Jax really doesn't want to fall behind. Malphite, he can go ahead, he can pressure. If he ends up getting zoned out or let's say Uter spends a lot of, not Uter, but Nocturne spends a lot of time ganking him, even if he's getting zoned out, not a big deal. And the way you harass with Malphite, you have two options. You can go ahead and just try and pressure them when they're away from creeps, or you can try and bully them when they're near creeps. And you want to keep your shield up. You'll notice Imbasheep doesn't play aggressive when his shield is down. He's just going to go ahead, wait for that shield to pop up, get that extra HP for more or less free, and once he has the shield up, he can go ahead, go closer, start being aggressive. And the important thing to know about Malphite's shield is it is amazing, and it does scale with armor and magic resist. So right now Malphite has 764 HP, which is actually quite a bit for level 3, but it's actually more like 830, and then he has a lot of armor and a lot of MR. And the way you skill Malphite is you focus on Ground Slam because he's actually a very mana-dependent champion. Ground Slam, it might actually scale. I believe it no longer scales at this point, or if it does, it's not very much. Seismic Shard is expensive though. 70 mana at level 1 versus 55 at level 2. Actually, I'll double check the mana scaling thing. But as Malphite, like, you just have your shield up. You want your enemy to always be scared to fight you, and this is something that Malphite can actually do. So every time 760 wants to engage Malphite, what's going to happen in a fight? He's going to jump on him. The leaf strike will go down. He will ground slam. So there goes Jax's attack speed, and he can chase him back with Seismic Shard. The only way Jax really gets out of that without taking a bunch more damage because of the slow on Seismic Shard is by leap striking away, but if he's doing that, then he's not engaging with it, meaning his harass blows. So kind of think about this with every character you go up against. What about Olaf, for example? What would Olaf do against Malphite? Olaf would use his true damage. He will try and poke Malphite down like crazy with axes, and more importantly, keep the shield from popping back up. So Olaf is actually considered a really good matchup against Malphite. And what does Imbasheep pick up when he goes back to base? He picks up a Philostone. And now I'd say we have one of the more important aspects of the game, the top lane gank. So you want to shut down the top laner as much as possible. For example, this would be a good time because with this big creep wave right here, it'll push to the tower and be denied. So it goes out. 760 doesn't have his flash up yet, and I love this play. So Frogger knows that he's going to try and leap straight to a creep, so he runs back to try and catch 760. Unfortunately, I mean, Jax is really fast. He has one of the highest base move speeds in the game, and he gets really close before they're able to catch up and get another stun off. And I love this dive because it's just not enough. Oh my god, it was one more auto attack. Oh my god! And it sucks, but that's what happens. That was the healing potion being used at the right time. I mean, even actually, an earlier ignite might have actually secured that kill because Malphite would have that 5 AP. So ground slam, it does scale up in mana cost. Okay, that was a change a while ago where it didn't. I'm trying to remember at the top of my head, but it's a lower mana spell. It's 60 mana at level 3. It's going to be 70 at rank 5. So Malphite will have a lot of spamming capabilities. So actually laning against Malphite, if you want to deal with Malphite, when his ground slam is down, that is your time to go up in CS. To be aggressive, if you want to engage on him, you want to do it when ground slam is down, preferably before he's level 6. If you're trying to engage him after he's level 6 or while ground slam is up, guess what? He'll win that exchange. And what I said, by the way, about how fights should go, you need to think about that with every character in a matchup. So, for example, if it's Malphite, you know, you have to account for a shield. If it's Shyvana, you have to account for her chasing capabilities. And you know what they're going to keep doing up at this top lane? They're going to keep going for ganks on Jax. And they want to shut him down. His CS, 37. He's actually out CSing Imbasheep. So the lane not going that well. Jax, unfortunately, you have to gank him when the creep wave isn't pushing up. So it's unfortunate for Luna Gaming. There's a lot of time spent top lane. There's an 800 gold difference. They're not really shutting down Jax. I mean, his CS is relatively low. I mean, compared to Kerp in the mid lane at 50, that's not super high. But it's not going great. So Imbasheep hits level 6, and what does this mean for Imbasheep? It means all of a sudden he is a scary map presence. He is a team fighter. He can win a fight. Now, normally, what does Malphite do without that ultimate? Nothing. Like, if he gets close to you, he can do some damage, but no team's going to let him get close. So Imbasheep tries to roam. He wants to try and stop this blue buff from going out to Kassadin. This is an important thing, you know, to deny blue buff to a character like Kassadin, because without it, there goes that Rift Walk potential. You can only go for a couple stacks before this ends up taking way too much mana. There goes his Q spam, which on Karthus is going to be quite a bit of damage. So Imba Sheep really just kind of walking back and forth down there to deny blue buff. And it's actually more or less your strategy. I believe Flogger ended up selling it, but that's not important. Top lane though, 760, he got some levels, or he's actually a little bit ahead of Imba Sheep. Imba Sheep will catch up with this creep wave dying. And, I mean, Ace is just being aggressive. So this is the time where 760 wants to put on pressure. Imba Sheep is low, he has to watch out for Imba Sheep just turning around bursting him. That's something really important to do as Malphite. You have a lot of burst potential. So with Unstoppable Force, that's 200 damage, an extra 227 on Ground Slam, and an extra, that is his passive, 70 on Seismic Shard. That's going to be about 500 damage just in spells. You have to realize Malphite also has really good base attack damage, and that with Brutal Strikes it'll be even higher. So, how do you kill someone as Malphite? You harass them low enough, then you have your choice of either trying to engage with a Seismic Shard and get a Ground Slam off, and you want to try and get 2 Ground Slams more or less. It's like getting 2 bursts off. But the easy combo is Unstoppable Force onto someone, use Ground Slam, use Seismic Shard, auto attack them with Brutal Strikes up. With their armor bonus, it's going to be hard to retaliate, and you also did a lot of burst. Throw an Ignite, and you're good. So, what does Imba Sheep do here? What is his goal? He's trying to push up this wave so that it will start pushing back and he can go back. Acer 760 actually goes onto him. I love this engagement because it's a trade. And I want you to look at Malphite's burst. We're going to go back in slow motion. Okay. So right now we have Acer 760 at 600 HP. So 580 after creeps are hitting him, a little more. He flash ignites down to 200 right away, and then the ignites off, and they more or less are going to die in one auto attack, which is what they both do. And that's what you have to account for as Malphite. Malphite has a really good burst. Now, this is Malphite on his lane on his own. There's a jungler in this game. Let's look at him. Hey, Frogger. So, what does a jungler do in a Malphite lane? They kill. They will murder somebody. Malphite is a good support for a gank. Now, it's weird to say that, so think of Twisted Fate, for example. If you're ganking a lane with Twisted Fate in it, what does he do to help you set up a gank? He will use his gold card. He can either follow up with your own CC or start CCing someone so you can follow up as a ganker. So you're Udyr running into gank, let's say, a Karthus in mid, and there's a Twisted Fate with a gold card up. Guess what? That gold card will CC, it will block their escape for a bit, and you can run up and stun them. Malphite, what does he have? He has the Unstoppable Force, so that 1.5 second knockup, and then he has Seismic Shard to follow up, the attack speed debuff, so you can't really counterattack someone. So he is a good gank support. There are characters like this. Warwick, for example. I think one of the reasons he was so popular for a while was because his laning was relatively safe. He could get shut down early on, but once you hit 6, the way you got kills in a Warwick lane was you had a jungler show up at all, and you were more or less guaranteed a kill. Now, Malphite level 8. There's a dragon play coming out. He moves down towards this dragon. What does he do in a team fight? Well, normally you want to use your Unstoppable Force, but it's currently on cooldown. What does he do in this team fight? He tries to go ahead and engage. He wants a ground slam Jax and preferably Corki. However, Corki's far away. He can't quite do it. He's just going to go ahead and stick to Jax. And that's your goal. If you can get to the enemy carry, which you do with your ultimate, you chase them down. So he's stuck on 760. 760 couldn't do that much damage in response, and then, Karthus did his Karthus thing. Let's go. What does Imba Sheep do? He's just going to chase. He's just going to try and land his Q. And this is now about the damage rather than the tankiness. Malphite, he's a rock though. He has 142 armor. He can easily tank this tower, and he lets it become this kill. So this is more of Malphite as a cleanup role. It's not normally how you start fights with Malphite, but it shows, you really just kind of walk in there and press your buttons. Like, it's a weird mentality to have because most characters require some finesse. Someone like a Moon, for example, you want to ultimate with like the right people in your ultimate. It's like, oh man, I want 3 people in it. As Malphite, when your ultimate's down, it's like, alright, whatever, I'm just going to press my buttons. And I want to be next to the right person, and so that when I press those buttons, the right people are getting hit with my debuffs. It's less finesse. And honestly, it fits the character. He's a big rock. He's a big honkin' rock. He's a big green rock, actually. What do you expect finesse-wise? There is very little elegant play from Malphite, which is not a bad thing. It's just what he is. He's a rock who wants to initiate. Okay, so they want to teamfight a dragon. Let's look at his build. What do you build as Malphite? You build in response to their enemy team, or the enemy team. So I'm actually going to talk about CLG North America and X Hazard, who was at MLG Anaheim. What did X Hazard build on Malphite? In every game he played at MLG Anaheim, he built a Sunfire Cape. Is this a good idea? Kind of. It's a good idea for CLG North America, not a good idea for most people. Right now, Malphite, what does he have? A crap load of armor. So when Acer tries to initiate on him, what happens? He gets hit by a crap load of armor. And with that crap load of armor, Sheep doesn't take much damage. When he gets that shield back up, that 140 HP is going to be more like 300 for Jax because of that armor. And that's something really important to look at. Just look at the trades. So at 760, he's used a health potion. He has a little bit of life steal, not very much, and he's used it on this creep wave. How much HP does he have? 1330. So he's still missing a decent chunk from that initiate. What does Sheep have? Almost everything back. He has that Philistone. He has defensive runes, which, you know, could always include the HP regen, and he might be running HP per 5 levels, actually. Not levels, but quints. I'm not positive about that. Malphite builds can vary quite a bit for masteries. So, he wants to go for a Frozen Heart. I like this against Jax because it's all about the attack speed debuff. So, 50% attack speed being reduced by his Ground Slam. We also have eventual 25% from Frozen Heart. Jax, what does he depend on for his ultimate work? Attack speed. And just watch this fight. This is just kind of like what Malphite does. So Jax is using his skills. Malphite is just kind of sitting there. And he pops out his burst. He's able to chase. And guess what? 760 dies. And was that really an exciting play? It was a good kill. It was, you know, very important. Now Jax has died. He's going to lose a bunch of CS. And Sheep can push out. But it doesn't really look that cool. And I don't want to be like down on the character, but it's something important to remember. You don't have to have an awesome looking character to do things like this. But he kills Jax, he wants to push this tower, you know, deny as much CS as possible to Jax, so he will go ahead and kill these creeps here. So the tower kills as many of these creeps as possible. And actually the tower still takes quite a bit of damage. That's a good way to deny CS, by the way. If you know they're gone, you go past the tower. It's called creep skipping. This lets a lot of CS get denied by the tower. And looking at CS now, Malphite was equal, now it's 100 versus 80 or 92, with Jax having to come back and pick up the scraps. So, next time we see Malphite Ground Slam, I want you to look at the Jax's attack speed. Next time Malphite Ground Slams Jax, of course. And so let's go. Okay, Jax 0.4 attacks a second. Now 0.5, now 9. Not actually sure that happened. 0.3. Something weird is going on with Frozen Heart, actually. Oh no, it's Relentless Assault falling off. So, assuming Jax doesn't have his passive up, he's being dropped to 0.3 attacks per second. And he can, you know, get an attack off with Leap Strike. But there's the idea. That's what Malphite does. Now, what does Malphite have for items? He has Frozen Heart, and that's the only thing. That's really the only thing he has. And Merc Shreds, whatever. So, with one item, he can more or less erase Jax from a fight, just by being there and being near him. Look at that, 0.4 attacks. That's nothing for Jax. He needs so much attack speed, and like, Jax has really high base attack speed. He has some of the highest attack speed in the game. And this is why Jax is a good character. Not Jax, but Malphite. He just snobs people like that. Eventually he will get tanky. Eventually we will see his role become dive that guy, this little Corki right here, with his ultimate. He'll hit E, he'll hit Q, he'll just chase and stick on him. Corki, he might eventually kill Malphite, but that's not what matters. What matters is it will take him so long to take down Malphite that even if he does die, you know what, he's wasted enough time where Kog'Maw could have ruined everybody. And this is an important thing to think about. When do you want to pick Malphite? When you want to stop their attack speed. He's also just a safe lane in general, but like, let's say it's someone like Olaf. Olaf is a good example. You can stop his attack speed, but what does he really depend on for damage? He depends on his true damage nuke, which is not dependent on attack speed, and his axes, which they're not dependent on attack speed. Attack speed is nice for him, but it's not going to stop him. Also, his ultimate might actually remove that debuff. I'm not positive. It's a weird interaction, but generally, Malphite can't do anything to Olaf just because of that ultimate too. I mean, if you're going to ulta Olaf, if they have good reaction times, you're screwed. But anyhow, when you care about their attack speed, for example, let's say they have a Jax in the top lane, anybody who's dependent on attack speed, and a carry that's not someone like Ezreal. Ezreal is a good example of someone who is independent of attack speed because he uses that Q for his damage, and alright, you can debuff him by a lot, but it's not that big a deal. So, Malphite, what does he build next? Heart of Gold, he has cloth armor, he's going for straight up tank. And this is where you can vary your build up quite a bit. So back to CLG North America. X Hazard was building Sunfire Cape. So why did this work with their playstyle? CLG loves to split push. It's one of the things they're good at. They can do other things. They've shown it and adapted by running different strategies. But if you like to split push, guess what? Sunfire Cape's really good for it. And also it supplements Malphite's ground slam, it supplements his damage. So it's a good skill. If you're someone like Sheep and you want to be more for a team fighter, guess what? That Philistine will eventually become a Reverie. He just wants to build tanky, he wants to build something that's going to be more about taking damage. Sunfire Cape, it's an okay item actually for tankiness, but to put it in other terms, you pay more or less 800 gold for a tiny bit of HP and a tiny bit of armor, and that magical fire aura. Items like Frozen Heart, you end up paying for a crap load of armor and the attack speed debuff. So, it's all about perspective. Hazard actually also built, I believe, Abyssal Scepter once, so the idea is there, he likes doing damage on his Malphite. So, your build with Malphite can vary. I'd say Frozen Heart is more or less a core item just because it supplements him so well. That's all you do. You're debuffing attack speed, and it's so cool because they can't fight back. Oh man. Let's see if Jax actually initiates. At this point in the game, I don't think Jax will try and start a fight at all. It's just true, he's scary. And Sheep can just scare him away. Now, of course, what if Jax was behind? Would this really be different? No. Not Jax, Malphite. If Malphite was behind, you know what he would do? The exact same thing. And we have a fight starting. And this is a great fight for Malphite because when you can come in late, you can just blow someone up. So he's chasing down Zaxxas, he flashes forward, he just wants to go ahead and just chase him down. And he knows there's not much they can do. If he Valkyries or flashes over that wall, we're just going to see him immediately follow up. Actually no, Cry the Soul is down. Forgot about that. But the idea is, Malphite, if you can come in late to a fight, you can clean up quite a bit. If you come in early though, you also win it. So, they're going to go for Baron, they picked up 4 kills, Sheep, he is 416, he is just a 4-speed wrecking blade. And we're going to see the same old thing, I say it every time because it always happens. We're going to see the split across the map as they just try and take turrets out. So Sheep going back to that top lane. I like this, that he's been in top for so much, just because Jax hasn't gotten free farm. Jax actually doing okay on farm. 140 CS, not bad, but he doesn't have his Triforce completed. In terms of what he should be doing, you know, going for that Triforce, going for that important item he needs to actually fulfill his role as a carry diver, he's not doing it, and he can't because of Malphite. And does Malphite care if he falls behind in CS as he denies Jax? No, it's Malphite. He just doesn't care. Malphite's weird because you can really just not care, and it sometimes works. It's almost like Singed, where you have to kind of play like you're crazy. But this one you can just play with apathy towards what the enemy team is doing. And it's like, they're doing that, I'm a rock. Whatever, I'm going to farm to deny this Jax some more. He's hanging around with his team though. He has max level Brutal Strikes. Now look how much damage he takes in this engage. Let's see. That was a rocket, a Jax auto attack, some nukes from Caston. He is currently at 1500 HP, regaining about 30 a second. Okay, 15 a second. So, that's what you do. And they blew a little bit on him. What's he going to do now? He's going to Jade, he's just going to chase down Corki, he's going to burst him down, and honestly, that's all I need to do. That's what we do as Malphite. If you can do that, if you can just ultimate onto a carry and chase him down, you fulfilled your role. Now it's important to note, Malphite isn't defensive. So, I'm going to rewind because I like rewinding to team fights, very specifically team fights. Let's watch what Malphite does super closely. It's important to notice when he uses these skills. So, his ultimate, when does he use it? Right now, he can go ahead and actually hit pretty much anybody. He waits until he gets specifically Jax and Corki. There you go. The two people he needs to hit, the two people affected most by the attack speed debuff. I mean, Nocturne has his skills. After that, I mean, he doesn't do anything. He tries to help kill Janna. He's trying to chase people down, but his skills are on cooldown. He's good. He did his thing. He can try and chase or down overpower. Doesn't matter at all. It's Malphite. He's a rock, and once he rocks out, he's done. And that's actually something important to remember. This is a character who doesn't really have low cooldown skills like, let's say, Kog'Maw, where you spam your ultimate. I mean, Ground Slime does have a short cooldown, but it's all about really just, making it land on the right people. And look what he does. He just kind of walks in the enemy team. He just sits there. Farger chases out, and he just sits there. He just keeps being Malphite. He uses Randuin's. He's going to just chase him down. They can't stop him. They just don't have the damage, and he's just too tanky. At 760 tries a leaf strike to a creep. Actually, that was almost close. That was really good. That was a cool play. I like that, but just not getting in range. Ed Malphite right now has 300 armor, cannot be stopped. And why is this build okay? Why would I say never ever get this much armor on Malphite ever, or this much magic resist on Malphite ever? What is the magic damage right now for Team Acer? It is Kassadin, a little bit from Corki, a little bit from Blitzcrank, a little bit from Jax. So they all have some magic damage, not a whole lot. Corki does actually have decent poke, but what is their physical damage? Nocturne, Corki, a little bit of Blitzcrank actually too, and Jax. So they have a lot of physical damage, and the one magic damage they do have, it's an assassin. And Malphite, if he's ever getting focused by an assassin, you've already won the fight. If it's a 5v5 and an assassin is attacking Malphite, you're in such a good position. So he builds like this. It's actually very greedy, but you know what? Building greedy is awesome, and you have to try and play with what you can get away with. Like look at Kog'Maw right now. What is his item build? Is there anything defensive in there? Well, I guess 2 Doran's Blades, but he's playing greedy, and that's actually something that's adapted over the years. AD carries actually, as an example themselves, Frozen Mallet used to be a really common AD carry item relatively early on, and the question is why? Well, carries didn't know how to position, so they had to build Frozen Mallet just because they didn't want to die instantly in a team fight, and because of that, I mean, their damage wasn't that high. Now, look at this Kog'Maw. His defensive items are 2 Doran's Blades. He's going to go for a Phantom Dancer next, most likely, maybe a Bloodthirster, but most likely not, most likely Phantom Dancer. And what are his defenses? The fact that he's mobile and has high range. So you want to be able to play to your limit in terms of greediness. It's like staying around for that last CS. Alright, if you stay around too long, you might get ganked and die in the top lane. Like, let's say you're just trying to get as much, you're low on mana, low on HP, you just want to get a little bit and get out. If you stay around for too many last hits, you might die. You want to find that perfect number where you stay there. You get as much last hitting as possible, and when you retreat, you don't die. And it's really weird. Finding that point is really hard, and that's something that Malphite is doing right now. He's playing greedy. He's trying to find this point. 400 armor. He has 400 armor because there is an armor steroid on his brutal strikes. 40% armor bonus. So with 295 armor, he's at 400 armor. And you know what? He can do this because the enemy team has so much physical damage rather than magic. If they'd had a Karthus, for example, he would not have this much armor. If they'd had even a Malzahar, he wouldn't have this much armor or this much magic resist on Imbashit. But the point is there. He's playing greedy, and I mean, it's working. Now, you don't always want to play greedy. You can't always just be like, man, I'm just going to build a super glass cannon, top lane Olaf. There's a reason people build tanky DPS in the top lane. There's a reason Malphite isn't just going for a death cap right now. But I like the play of being greedy. Being greedy is super cool and actually a really good idea, because once you learn how greedy you can be, it can be so cool. This will vary with every game, every matchup though. Now Imba right now, he's looking for an initiation. They actually initiate Instant Shard. So this is the worst initiation for Luna because their AD carry just died. What does he do though? He knocks up Jax, he knocks up Nocturne. He's just trying to burst down, stay on important people who are low, and he just kind of cleans up. I didn't really catch the whole lot of that. I was focusing on the Kog'Maw dying, so rewind. So, we'll just play Follow the Malphite. We'll watch this in normal speed though. Okay. Look for the Nocturne ult. What does he do? He can't protect Kog'Maw actually. All he can do is use a Ground Slam. So, what's he going to do when the Nocturne ult comes out? So Casting goes on to him. He can't stop that. He can't stop the Jax. It's too late. He gets pulled in actually by Erotic. So, he ults in there to keep people near Karthus, keep people near Kog'Maw actually, and then he just chases them down. So that ultimate wasn't there to necessarily protect Kog'Maw because he just doesn't do that. It was there to keep people near Karthus, near Kog'Maw's exploding corpse. And so what happens after that? They pick up a bunch of kills. It's now Imba versus Overpower. Overpower doesn't have the mana. He's waiting for these stacks to fall off. Will he get away? Nope. And Malphite cleans up again. Now, he actually can't win the game right now. 5 seconds left on Nocturne popping up. This is only the 30-minute mark. Actually, 29-minute mark, so not even. But he's going to go ahead, walk away, and teleport back. Now, this is a good play. Not staying around too long. Not being too greedy. Actually, on the subject of greed, there's a reason you see so many teams will overpush because they're trying to be as greedy as possible. And the reason this doesn't work very well is because sometimes you gotta go. Sometimes it's like, man, I can't be here because you're gonna kill us. And when you get caught out, when you get punished for it, that's I think when games tend to get turned around. It's like when you see, for example, a team that's behind, they pick up some kills, they go for inhibitor, they die without getting the inhibitor. The other team who was ahead before and actually got punished with their death ends up just walking back and picking up that same inhibitor, or the other team's inhibitor. Like, this happens a lot. And it's all about that right level of greed. Now, Baron, how's Baron going? Baron's going really fine. Malphite took no damage. He had Janna Shield to back him up. He's got 299 armor still, so it's like whatever. He actually is going to go for either Triforce or Frozen Mallet. The Phage is going to help him just because he'll keeping up the auto attack slow. And let's watch the Malphite. Initiates. He Qs. He's trying to beat him up now. They cannot stop him. He will keep chasing. He'll keep going forward. Selling forth just to go ahead and get to that carry. Now, he's not a diver in the sense that Nocturne is a diver. By the way, cool play. He tanks a tower so Kerp can get out and Kerp lost aggro with Zhonya's. Because his gap closer is not the same as Nocturne's. He can't come from across the map, but he can come from far enough where he can usually catch carry by surprise. If he doesn't get the carry though, he has Seismic Shard, he has a decent move speed. With that Janna, he's at 391 move speed without Seismic Shard. If we see him use Seismic Shard, he will go a whole lot faster. Probably about 500-ish, maybe a little more. So he can keep up with people, and he dives by just being able to walk through the enemy team without worry or concern. If they do try and kill him, guess what? He's just going to kill them in response because he'll tank so much. And the enemy team will just be like, well, you're hitting our big, beefy, tanky dude. We're gonna kill you. Now, Malphite does have counterplay. You can stop Malphite. A good spread. Not being hit with his ultimate. If the attack speed carries is going to be important. But how do you beat a Malphite? Let me go ahead and go back to Studio Cam, and I can tell you about this. God, I gotta shape. Oh, whoa, focus. Okay, how do you beat Malphite? Well, a good top laner that can counter him is always effective. Olaf, for example, is, I think, the strongest character. Swain can do okay. There are some characters who can do okay. He's not really well known for having a lot of counters, though, so that's something that has to be discovered yet. It will come out. There will be people who are just like, this is how you beat Malphite. You cannot underestimate his burst damage. So let's say you're Kennen. Kennen is a good example of a top laner who can easily fall behind a Malphite. Alright, so you're Kennen, you're harassing, you're throwing shuriken. And Malphite, he gets some poke on you, he's able to get close enough, comes out of the bush, he gets some damage on you. and you stick around, he ults you, uses combo, and kills you. This happens a lot. This happens an incredibly high amount. And it's weird to say that because it's not that hard to notice. But a lot of people play with this mindset that they can react, they can always, outplay their opponent. If your opponent can use a combo to kill you, I mean, I guess if you have really good reaction times, you can always flash to dodge it. But if that is the case and you don't have a plan, like for example, a jungle gank, a Soraka or a Karthus ult to back you up, if you're just going to try and outplay them, if they outplay you, you'll die. And it's more likely to happen than you think in a lot of cases. So against Malphite, you gotta just stay above an HP. It's easier for range to do it, of course. So Kennen is a good example of someone who, if he stays out of range, won't die. So, okay. You try not to take that harass. If you can avoid ground slam, actually, it's got a tiny range. You can bait it out quite a bit. But let's say you're melee, sometimes you just win the lane. Sometimes you're just like, I'm boned. That happens in the top lane quite a bit. Now, here's someone like Olaf, maybe Kennen, someone who can deal with him. What else do you have to watch out for? Jungle ganks. So, if Malphite presses Unstoppable Force, you really are not going to dodge that most likely, especially if you don't expect it because a jungler comes. So some decent ward coverage with a jungler, if it's someone like Nocturne, some really good ward coverage or just game sense, knowing where he is, knowing when he can be in your lane to gank you and when he won't be. Like if you see him bot lane and after 5 seconds ago, you can be a bit more out there. If you saw him, let's say, right outside the lane 5 seconds ago, you should probably be a bit more defensive. Team fights. You're the AD carry. How do you avoid Malphite? Stay away from him? Sometimes you actually cannot avoid him. Sometimes you're just going to have to accept the fact he will try and ult you and might kill you. The important thing, of course, is to not die. So if you're the AD carry and Malphite ultimates you, if they have a Karthus, you might be boned. Actually, that's a really good combination, which we really didn't see a whole lot of it, but I'm just going to skip someone random. So, what does Karthus do? He ultimates. He presses R. That's 444 damage. What does Malphite do? He ultimates. That's 300 damage at level 2. Ground slam, 300 damage right now with his high armor. So, right now, 60 minutes in the game, if Malphite ultimates you, presses Ignite, uses Ground Slam, that's going to be about, let's see, 700, 980 damage. And you followed it up with this guy, pressing R. That is an extra 400 damage. So that's about 1300 damage. Of course, magic resist will affect it. But the idea is there. Karthus can support. So if you're an AD carry, you have to make sure Malphite does not hit you with his ultimate. You're trying to get away from it as much as possible. If he does hit you, well, first you can use flash to dodge it. If you can't react to it though, like he comes out of the bushes, you just need to kite him. You need to just stay the hell away from him. You can always try and back off and try and get in the fight, hit someone else after his ground slam is worn off. But really, ground slam has a 4-second duration. If he gets any CDR, it will almost always be up if he's near you. You just have to stay the hell away from him. Your team needs to support you. It's up to your team to use Janna ult to keep him away. It's up to your team to use an Udyr stun to keep him in place. Actually, let me see if I can jump to it. Oh, I totally can. So a good example of what would actually keep Malphite off the carry and in a good position was in this fight right here. So, here's a rock. I'm trying to go for the grab. Actually, I have like 15 seconds now because he missed that grab. So, when the Nocturne comes up, what does Erotic do? Wait for it. Okay, so there's the ult. He tries to grab someone, he grabs Ambush Sheep back in, and it actually keeps him away from these guys. Unfortunately, they were in a position where it was actually a huge gold lead, so they were really far behind. But the idea is there, you keep them away. You actually grab them towards the Dota Pro, but Dota Pro is in a safe spot because the enemy team just wasn't nearby. Now, I don't think there's really all that much to say about countering Karthus or countering Malphite at this point. I was going to go ahead and... What is being streamed right now? Oh, oops. Nothing too important actually got shown there. But, okay, so I mentioned this before. I was going to do something called OK Friday. There was some other names like FO Friday. Name is in the works, let's just say that, and it may not be on Friday. But I want you, the viewer, to send me a replay of you guys doing something a little different. And what we're going to be going for is not having a duo bot lane. Now, this does not mean you have to have a duo top lane. You can go ahead, do a mid lane, you can have double jungle, you can have a roaming support, but the idea is there, have one person in that bot lane. I want to see what you guys do. I want to see what you do with the extra person being able to roam around and be aggressive. You can use that to deny top. So, some basic examples that, if you pull it off well, I'd like to see it. But you can put Yorick solo in the bot lane. He's one of the more common solos just because he has that ghoul to sustain. You can go ahead, put Urgot down there, give him blue buff. This is more possible with purple team than blue team because purple team is closer to that blue buff in that lane. Galio, someone to be down there and be safe. If you can do that, if you can pull it off, that's the best idea. What do you do with your roamer? Okay, at Moscow 5, what they've done is they'll run Janna, use them to roam around and be aggressive in that jungle. You could pick someone like Leona, actually. Go top lane, make that top lane a kill lane. Actually, you can go ahead and make your top lane the AD carry lane, make your bot lane just the survive lane, and you can come out well. So, with that roamer, I want to see aggression. Okay, now how do you record these replays? Go to leaguereplays.com, download their client, set it to spectator mode replays. I will not take non-spectator mode replays because they are a pain to work with. Like, my god, it's like when cable arrived for the first time instead of 56K. I know some of you guys are pretty young, so you may not know this, but that was like the day the internet got changed, because all of a sudden loading up yahoo.com to check your weird, like, 3rd grade email address wasn't 5 minutes long, it was like a second. And that was just crazy, crazy times. But, so spectator mode has to be on. You can do this in the settings. And email that replay saying, okay Friday, FO Friday, or just goofing around. Just make it clear somewhere in the title what the replay is for. And email it to studio@leagueofstudio.com. I was going to do like studio, but that would have been kind of weird. But, that's all for today's daily. I will see you guys soon.